Buddies, it's almost here. We're going to Jasper. It is the Jasper Pond Hockey Tournament. We were there last year, had a heck of a time. We're going back again. Shout out to our friends at Tourism Jasper, and it's presented by Booster Juice. Booster Juice. Now, space is limited for this tournament. It's going to be held at the Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge. It is beautiful. Nation Network going to be there. We got the Oilers guys and Leaf guys. We're going to have some fun. Edmonton plays Calgary on the Saturday night. We're all going to get together, watch it. Frank Seravalli's coming in from Philadelphia. We're going to have a fun time. You should get there. Space very limited. You can go to chehockey.com to get more information. Maybe you can get a team in there. But by all means, follow along on social media as we'll be doing our thing. The Jasper Pond Hockey Tournament, fueled by Booster Juice. Download the new Booster Rewards app today. Start earning berry points for delicious and nutritious smoothies, drinks, and food that'll get you through the day. It's the new year, right? Everybody's doing the New Year's resolution thing. Being healthy. Be healthy with Booster Juice.
So if you're in Alberta, chances are you got the provincial alert tonight asking people to limit electricity use to only the essentials because of the cold. But boy, howdy, was that worth it? And did it ever bring the heat? A solid road effort for the Flames team that has seen 7 cities in 12 days as they take a 3-1 win over the Vegas Golden Knights. The Texas Tiger, Blake Coleman, with a goal and an assist tonight. He has 7 points, 4 goals, 3 assists, including a shorty and a game winner in 3 games. So, Ryan, we can't let the dads and the mentors go home at this point, right? They just have to stay. We have to sign them.
I mean, they used dad strength, and the only reason the Flames won the last 2 games, it wasn't because of strong goaltending. It wasn't because Blake Coleman's playing the best hockey of his career. It wasn't even because of some timely goals. It was dad power, and whatever the reason, I think they're going to want to keep that going. So, I mean, if the dads are willing to hang out for a while, I mean, Jacob Markstrom's older brother is retired now. He was a pro goalie in Sweden, and now he's retired. What does he got to do? He's retired. He can hang out as long as they got to bottle up the mojo they have going here, and just keep it going in some way, shape, or form, because whatever they're doing is working. And quietly they're on a really good little run. This is their 20th win of the year. They're 20-18-5, and this is shockingly the highest above the 500 mark they've been this year. So might as well keep it going, right?
Yeah, Calgary 3-0 with the dads and the mentors hanging around. We do have to pay tribute to, we got the grandpa, we got the brother, we have the adoptive father, and Colin Patterson there for Sharon Govich. But yeah, Calgary 3-0 with them while outscoring the opposition 15-6. Now they have a chance to get their 4th straight win for the first time this season when they return home to the Saddle Dome next Tuesday. But that was pretty much a near perfect road showing against, granted, a Vegas team that is pretty beat up right now, but still, they're still the Golden Knights. Like, you still see Mark Stone, you still see Marchessault doing their thing out there. But other than, kind of letting off the gas a little bit in the second period and the fourth line kind of costing Markstrom his second shutout of the season in the third, what more could you really ask for?
Yeah, I mean, the Kings remain the Kings. They're reigning defending Stanley Cup champions for a reason. They're a deep team. They've brought bodies back and forth with their affiliate in Henderson basically for the last 2 or 3 years. They're a team that's managed to use voodoo and whatever else to maintain cap compliance over the last 3 years. And they do that by ferrying people up the highway from Henderson every time they get a bump or a bruise. And case in point, I mean, old friend of the Calgary Flames, Byron Froese, came in and subbed in for Jack Eichel. And bless his heart, Byron Froese is no Jack Eichel, but the Golden Knights have enough depth all over their lineup that if they can lose a Jack Eichel and still be a really formidable team. And, the Flames were very good in the first period, I think. And then they were good enough in the last 40. And I'd say the best part of their game is probably the guy wearing the big pads, because if you sub him out for almost literally anybody else, it would have been a completely different hockey game.
We're going to get to Jacob Markstrom a little later in the show. I'll admit, you just scared me saying the Kings are the Kings. I'm like, yeah, the Kings have lost 8 in a row.
Ooh.
Give me a little bit of a start there. How great do the Reds on the road look?
I mean, it's kind of a throwback, eh? Like I know they're doing it a couple times this year. I think actually I think this is the only time this year. They're the next little while, folks, is going to look kind of weird for jerseys because the Flames wear their home reds on the road for this game, and then next Saturday the Flames are wearing their Heritage Classic whites, and the Oilers, I believe, are wearing their home blues in the Saddle Dome for a road game. So it's gonna be kind of weird, but I mean, this is the kind of game where weird worked for them, and they managed to. I don't think they got as much support from the fans in the stands as they did in Tempe a couple of nights ago, but I know for a fact there was Arizona and Vegas are probably the two buildings in the National Hockey League that have the most road supporters because if it's minus 30 and you got wind chill warnings and we're shutting off the power if you don't turn off your extra lamps warnings, you might as well go to Tempe or Vegas. So, I mean, I know Boomer was in attendance at the palatial T-Mobile Arena, and he got a pretty good game in. So, I mean, good for Boom. Maybe Boom is very quietly the good luck charm. Maybe they'll just keep Boom around for the rest of the road trip or the rest of the season, eh?
Can't confirm Pinder is back in town and sniping about the weather. Made a quick chat on the phone before the game tonight. Yeah, maybe Boom could be the good luck charm. Lots of great goals to talk about tonight. We're going to dive right in with the highlight of the night presented by Betway. Get the Betway app on your phone and bet the responsible way with Betway. Let's start with this. It all starts with Mr. Blake Coleman winning a battle on the house.
And, these guys, dating back to when they were put together a couple years ago, have always been money. And, you have a first period where you weren't awful, but you go in your locker room down 2 at home. Okay, don't worry, boys. We'll get him in the second. Then you basically run the Flame show for big chunks of the second period, if not most of the second period. And then this goes against you 3 minutes left in the period. I mean, that had to be a gut punch for Vegas. And, in a close game, in a playoff race that's probably going to be determined by 1 or 2 points as last season's was, this could end up being a pair of points that mean a heck of a lot for these guys. So it's we'll see. Well, hopefully for them these 2 points matter, but man, what a nice goal. And I feel like every time we get on here, we talk about Blake Coleman or Michael Backlund or Andrew Mangiapane, and rightfully so. They've had all three of those guys, especially Mangiapane more lately, but the other two guys have had good seasons pretty much since the get-go.
And we saw it again on probably one of the best versions of this Flames power play that we've seen this season. They did go, I think it was 50% in the end, unless there was a third power play that's just slipping my mind right now. But we saw them. They were so poised. They were so effective with their puck control. And again, we saw that pay off for them with Backlund firing it into Coleman's stomach. He might have a bruised rib after that one, but it does drop right to his feet, and he makes a nice move to put it in the net. But it also doesn't get to that point without strong puck retrieval and being able to box out the Vegas players previously on that play. And their passing was just kind of on tonight. So, but again, like Backlund and Coleman and Mangiapane have been so key lately.
Do you think that was what was the intention there? Because on the replay, I was thinking Backlund was going for the rebound, like he was going to try to throw it into the pillows of the goalie, and then he missed. Because there's no way the set play was, I'm just going to shoot it at you, and then when it drops down, shuffle it in. But the more I think
thought it caught Coleman up higher at first.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking, is that a cleverer play if he did it on purpose? Like, I'm just going to shoot at you, and I'll try not to hit you in the face, and then hopefully we can shuffle in, because it seemed like no one outside of Coleman knew what was going on with the puck on that play, and it worked. If there was, in the game where there wasn't a lot of goals, it was a really nice goal. It was a nice work for a power play that's quietly gaining a bit of steam.
Yeah, we kind of saw a little bit of everything too. Of course, that goal that we just talked about was the opening goal, but then later on in the period, not long after that, actually, we saw the kid line going after it again. Connor Zary, his pass to Anderson didn't get through, but he waits again, patient, composed with the puck. He tries and tight and gets the rebound, and he puts it back in the crease where Nazem Kadri is able to bang the puck home and get the eventual game winner. And he's on a 5-game, or is it a 6-game heater now?
He's on a heater. That's all I know. It's a long heater, and dating back to New Year's Eve, where
Six. It is 6 games.
Prince Ryan Huska busted out the for like how
Big
long we all know him
questions.
Pinder. Like he's
Yeah.
always had interesting hair. He's always had what the kids would call a look, but it's gone to a whole other level since he did the sides. It's definitely a unique style that only Ryan Pinder could pull off. Or it's a unique style that only Ryan Pinder would attempt.
Completely. And just to go back once more to that line with Kadri and the kids, you cannot not talk about Martin Pospisil tonight. That guy, like, he must just be so ignorant to play against. When's the last time you saw someone get called for like reefing on somebody's visor and basically turning their helmet sideways?
Yeah, Brad Treliving had a big soft spot for this player. He was a guy that Brad and his scouting staff drafted, and I'll always remember this. Every time I see him play, it just pops into mind with how much of a jerk he is on the ice. He could find trouble in church, and Vegas, definitely not church. That building is definitely not a cathedral, but he did his best to make everyone inside that building loathe him. And we talked about in days gone by the Matthew Tkachuk friendship tour. We're very rapidly experiencing the Martin Pospisil friendship tour. And he might not have the skill package that Matthew Tkachuk had, but the pest package is very, very evident.
Yeah, and he was around it too. Like he could have easily had a goal tonight. Somehow he's only credited with 2 hits officially to go along with his 2 PIMs, but man, is that guy fun to watch. I find that every time there's a whistle when he's on the ice, like that's who I'm looking for. Like you look to Zary when you are trying to see a player try something interesting and new. And when you want to see someone get in the muck, you look for Mr. Pospisil.
There was a stretch of about 4 games to start Mr. Pospisil's National Hockey League career where he basically barreled through creases and went, basically unintentionally on purpose, crashed into goalies. He's tidied that up a little bit, but the spirit of the goal mouth jam has still maintained itself. And I think it's useful. Even when he's not getting points, he's mucking around and he's creating time and space for Zary and for Nazem Kadri. I've talked to scouting buddies who've sort of compared the jam in his game to Michael Furland, where Michael Furland might not have had the biggest skill package, but Michael Furland absolutely knew how to use his size and his speed and his physicality effectively. And I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of guys got a lot more time and space playing with 79. I think we're seeing something very similar with 76, and good for him. Hopefully, I'll say this: both those gentlemen, unfortunately, have had history of head injuries, and unfortunately, it led to the end of Michael Furland's National Hockey League career. I'm hoping that, knock on wood, Pospisil has better injury luck, because he's the type of player that they just don't have a lot of in the organization. But you want to have a Pospisil on your team, because when he's there, you notice the space. When he's not there, you notice it's not there anymore.
And it always comes with a feeling of Pospisil being in control emotionally of the situation. He's the person getting under the other player's skin. The scrappy stuff doesn't come as a result of other players, starting to wind him up.
Yeah. And I'd say this, he's a shit disturber, as I'm seeing the comments say, but he's not predatory. Like, he's not going after guys' knees or heads or anything like that. He's doing goofy, annoying stuff, like grabbing the visor. That's not dangerous. It's annoying. And maybe you're hoping that the other guy takes a swing at you and you get an extra 2 going the other way. I mean, eventually you're going to stop getting the leeway from the referees if you pull on that too much. So, but early on, when you're trying to establish yourself, I'm seeing a lot of parallels with how Tkachuk had to navigate that early on, because early on, Matthew Tkachuk was kind of stupid with how he engaged with guys. A lot of times he crossed the line, and I think he held, I don't know if it's the official record, but he was pretty close to the National Hockey League rookie record for games suspended in a rookie season. And then he figured it out. I'd argue early on, I think Pospisil has figured out that line much more rapidly than Tkachuk did.
Absolutely. Good spot to stop that conversation. We're going to be right back in a minute. When we come back, we're going to get to the goalies and Calgary once again in Elliot Friedman's headlines on a Saturday night. We have more on what he had to tell the hockey world after this.
BK Beaufort Liquor is a proud sponsor of Afterburner. In fact, our very first sponsor ever, right back to our first Afterburner ever. Big thank you to Mandeep, Manjeet, and Jazz. Huge Flames fans, a heck of a family. Good-looking cashier, Mandeep, as well. Find them right across from Winsport on the Trans-Canada Highway. Whether you're grabbing some beer for your place in town or you're heading to the mountains, make sure you stop in, say hello. Whether it's a specialty wine, liquor, six-pack of beer, whatever it is, check it out and grab it at BK Beaufort Liquor.
We are well into the winter months now, and you can feel it, can't you? That urge to get away. Maybe some beach time to warm up those bones of yours. Maybe a hockey, sports kind of road trip. Well, when you pack your bags, make sure you don't forget Alberta Blue Cross. There's only one thing better than sharing memories, and that's making new ones. Alberta Blue Cross Travel Insurance protects your memories and more, wherever travel takes you. Visit ab.bluecross.ca/travel for more information. Alberta Blue Cross, celebrating life's memorable moments inspired by hockey. Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian owned and operated since 1972. More than 85 locations across the country through Charm and their sister brands. Get custom ring building delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece program and an unbeatable pricing policy. The holidays are here, can you tell? It's the perfect time to check out a large selection of Canadian lab-grown diamonds, mined diamonds, and don't pay until 2025 with their instant in-store financing OAC. For more information, go online, charmdiamondcenters.com.
We've been telling you about our daily survivor pool at dailyfaceoff.com for Wendy's. Now, you know SOG, GAA, and PPG can make or break your week, but don't overlook the BPMM. The Wendy's Bacon Portobello Mushroom Melt. Aha, the BPMM. Sure, it may not help you win your weekly fantasy prizes at dailyfaceoff.com, but unlike your predictions, it never, ever disappoints. Oh, BPMM. So try your luck, but don't push it, because the Bacon Portobello Mushroom Melt is only back for a limited time. And if you miss it, you're not getting a second chance. So sign up for Daily Face-Off today. It's the Survivor Pool, sponsored by Wendy's and the Wendy's app. Love that. BPMM.
All right, we're going to dive right back in with the DoorDash Hungry for More, because honestly, no one wants to leave the house to get food in this kind of weather, because of course, DoorDash will bring it all to you. Open the DoorDash app, choose what you want from where you want. Your items will be left safely outside your door with our default contactless delivery setting. Just leave a tip for the poor drivers that are braving this cold. And I don't think I'm alone in this being what I'm hungry for more of tonight. But Jacob Markstrom facing Vegas for the first time this season, dummies them. Should have had a shutout. He should have had a shutout tonight.
Very close. I mean, on that goal, you kind of feel bad a bit for Rasmus Anderson. They showed him on the bench after the Chandler Stevenson goal. They had, I'd say, 2 or 3 chances to just get it out of the zone, and they just couldn't do it. But you know, it was the kind of game where their goalie was spectacular, and they did their damnedest to stay the hell out of his way. He was, they spotted him a couple goals, and he said, "All right, boys, just let me see it." And for the most part, I mean, that goal that Stevenson got, I don't know many goalies are going to stop that one. But other than that, I mean, 1 goal against on many, many good scoring chances against a team that flat out knows how to score top to bottom. Not a bad evening. And we've been saying that a lot about 25 lately.
Yeah, finishes tonight with a .969 save percentage. His rebound control in particular really impressed me. He was able to just shut it down and not really give Vegas a ton of second opportunities. But you look back now, just what Markstrom has done recently, 7-3 in his last 10 starts. And I'll steal a stat that you pulled out and put on Twitter. Coming from Natural Stat Trick, Markstrom has played 8 of the club's last 10 games, a .933 5-5 save percentage, and .927 overall. He's 8.27 goals below expected in that span. This is insane. And even better, like when you go through those last 10 games, in 4 of those games, he's allowed 1 goal, or in the Anaheim game, got the shutout. He's on fire right now.
Updating that, he's up to I think 929 in he started 8 of the last 10 games, 929 save percentage at 5-on-5, and 926 overall. No one's gonna. I think it's flat out. He's very good. He's the kind of goalie that if you don't have a goalie like Jacob Markstrom, you're trying to get a goalie like Jacob Markstrom. And I know last 2 years his play has been up and down. The 2020-21 season when he started, he was getting used to defensemen. He was getting used to a very weird playing scenario in a COVID year, and he also had a concussion halfway through the year and kind of took a while to get his mojo going. Year after, second in Vezina voting. Last year, again, the team was, to be charitable, kind of an adventure in their own zone, and he was not great. And it was an adventure, so it was not good for anybody. This year, it seems like they're a bit more cohesive, and he's a bit, I'd say, flat out a lot better than he was last year. And I think he's such a battler. He's such a fiery guy that you're kind of excited to see what he's going to do, because, if he is this good or a reasonable facsimile of this, the standings math isn't in their favor, but I wouldn't bet against them if he keeps playing like this.
But even so, it's kind of reminiscent of some of the Kippersoft years, because when you have a goalie that can do this on a night in, night out basis, you're never going to truly bottom out.
Yeah, I think I'm going to steal this from Twitter, I saw it attributed to Harry Neal, and if it's not Harry Neal, I apologize. If you got goaltending at 75% of the game, except if you don't have it, and that's 100%. And all they need now is, you need enough goals to give him a chance. And I don't think it's a coincidence that in the games where they've scored first and scored a couple early, that they've been getting success. And I agree with you. I think they have some interesting decisions to make in the interim, because if the goal is to be real bad on purpose, I don't think you can be real bad with a goalie like him in between the pipes. I think they have a few guys that they need to find new homes for if they want to be real bad, and I don't think some of them want to go anywhere. But if the idea is they want to have a fighting chance every night, 25 gives that to them.
Jacob Markstrom is the recipient of our DoorDash Hungry for More tonight. For a limited time, our listeners can get 25% off and 0 delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter code NATION25. That is code NATION25 for 25% off your first order. Dash that for the win. Of course, everyone is saying Jacob Markstrom might be the best trading chip that Calgary has right now. Thing is, Buddy has a full no-move clause in that contract. So Calgary would have to ask him to waive that should they try to spin a deal. This is what Elliot Friedman had to say about that tonight.
Mentor's trip for the Flames, and his brother is on the trip with him, so they do not want to talk about it. Calgary doesn't about any of the rumors flying around Markstrom. Here's what I can tell you, though. Number one, I don't believe they've gone to him with anything, any possibility of what could happen. Number two, he has a no-move clause, and as the birthday boy, Kelly Rudy always argues, no one with a no-move clause should be even asked if they can have it moved or be traded. And from what I understand, Calgary has a very high bar here in terms of they're not going to bother Markstrom with just anything. It would have to be something massive for them, or somewhere they absolutely believe Markstrom would want to go before they would even consider going to him. So I think that's where things stand with Markstrom and the Flames.
What was your immediate reaction to that?
I mean, that's consistent with the texts I've been getting from various folks I talked to. I mean, I'll say this. I don't doubt that the folks in the front office have regular conversations with their big fish. You're going to want to have, a regular line of communication with the folks in your room that wear letters and with your star goalie. It's natural. And I imagine they probably have given him a sense of, here's kind of sort of how things are going. He's smart. He's very connected. He has a lot of friends around the league. Markstrom, I think, has a good sense of what could be happening with UFAs and whatnot. But, he's also a guy that he negotiated a no move because I think he wants some stability. I think a lot of players like having no moves because then you get to choose if you're going somewhere or not. And so he got himself a deal that's very heavy on signing bonuses and had a full no move, and it sort of gives him some protection and some comfort. And I think a lot of places have written about this. I know Randy Sportak over the Sporting News or over the Hockey News wrote something about this a couple weeks ago. If you think you're going to go down a road where you might not be able to win anything with Jacob Markstrom for the next couple of years, you have that, you can have that conversation. And I'm sure some version of that conversation has been sort of soft launched to sort of give them an idea of kind of sort of where things are going. But I also think that they have enough respect for him that you're not going to ask him to waive unless you think there's a nice landing spot for him. Unless it's like, you're not going to have the conversation just to be like, I don't know, you want to go somewhere. I think you want to have something to pitch him, not just sort of, soft launch. This is a relationship I think that they really value and a guy that's been really good for them. And I think they have enough respect for him that they want to keep him as happy as he can be.
This is already a room that has guys knowing that they might be on the trade block with their contracts expiring at the end of this season. There was a point in time where any talks of extensions was completely shut down when things were going wrong. I just wonder what it would be like introducing the dynamic of just the possibility of asking Markstrom to waive that no trade clause, what that would do to the room right now.
Yeah, it'd be awkward. But, I think it's been I'll say this. I think since they made the Zadorov trade, I think the energy in the room has been good in the times I've been in there. I think they played pretty well. I think, there's enough built-in distractions in terms of the known unknowns in terms of their UFAs that I don't know if you want to. I wouldn't be going out of my way to introduce more confusion or chaos to that room because things are working right now by the looks of it. And if things are working, you might as well just not muck around with them for as long as you can avoid doing it, right?
Completely. One other update that we do have that I don't think we've had the chance to talk about on the show. Last time we were chatting, Oliver Kylington made his return to the AHL by really showing off the boots and giving it a really honest effort out there at the Saddle Dome. He is back out for the time being with, he's listed as having a groin injury, which is, kind of understandable when you're skating that fast for that long after such a long period away from the game. Like, yeah, you don't expect that to be such a long thing, but we also have an update on his loan to the Wranglers. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So essentially, his initial loan, his LTI conditioning loan was for 6 days or 3 games played by the Wranglers, whichever came first. The third game by the Wranglers was the one game he played. And so the Flames requested to the league, hey, he's been out for 20 months. Can we have a couple more games? Which they're allowed to do under the CBA. And the league said, yeah, that sounds reasonable. They did it similarly last year with Nikolai Nyskov, who plays in the Sharks organization. He was out for 20 months with a hernia surgery. And so he got the 5 games in the AHL on their roster. And then they let him come up. So Kylington will be eligible to play on Friday for the Wranglers as they start the road trip in Coachella Valley against the Firebirds. And at that point, his LTI loan will have to end. But, he'll, depending on what happens with Dennis Gilbert's skating again, and it sounds like Dennis Gilbert is going to be available most likely for the games this coming week, which would open up a roster spot, most likely with Yan Kuznetsov going back to the minors, which would open a roster spot for the Flames to potentially activate Kylington and then potentially send him on a conditioning loan, which is 2 weeks, no questions asked. It's just a straight 14-day period where you can go and continue to play for the Wranglers. So hypothetically, they could end up doing some paperwork and shuffling some stuff around, and he could be on a road trip and stay on the road trip and not have to do anything weird like fly back to California. But it sounds like, he's, like you said, his first game of any kind in 20 months, but he was probably a little bit sore. I know when, I'm not anywhere near the kind of shape that he is. I don't think many human beings are. Dude has spent some time in the gym. my gas tank is empty very quickly. His gas tank, I think, was probably, game speed and game contact is a bit different than practice speed and practice contact. So I imagine, a little bit of soreness, but I think they're
It's
going to.
not even like gas in the tank. Like you think about the day, or even worse, like the second day after a really hard leg workout and you walk like a penguin.
I imagine there's probably a lot of that going on today for him, even 2 days later. So, yeah, but they have some flexibility. The nice thing is, they've been carrying 22 players fairly regularly. The Flames have. They typically carry an extra forward, an extra defenseman, and they are significantly below the salary cap ceiling. Kylington's already counting against the cap ceiling. So if they activated him from LTI, they will have 0 people in LTI. So they have some flexibility there, but they just have the money and roster space to give him another 2 weeks to get his legs under him and get his mojo going. And, gives him a couple weeks, and then potentially you're at the All-Star break, and coming out of the All-Star break, maybe you see some games when he goes on maybe he goes on the Flames road trip to Boston and New York City and at the beginning of February, and maybe he's a participant at that point. I don't think they really know yet. I think it's basically okay, let's see how this week goes. Great. He's feeling good. He's a little bit sore. Perfect. Send him to California on that road trip, see how he feels. And then if he's feeling good, you do the paperwork, you give him 2 more weeks, and you say, okay, come talk to us in 2 weeks and let us know how you're feeling. And then I think they'll go from there. But, I think we talked about this on Thursday. Just a good story. It's just, there's enough things to be bummed out about in the world, the weather, any number of other things. Life is not fun for some people. Life's been tough for Oliver Kylington the last couple of years, but he seems to have really come through it and is smiling and joking around. We saw, him in the post-game media availability he had after the Wranglers game, where he was smiling. Like when he can drop some nice one-liners about, guess my legs still work. That's a good sign, because his legs do work, and his legs probably work better than most of ours, even with a groin injury.
Awesome. We're going to take another quick break. We're going to be right back with more on the road ahead. Those all-star jerseys, we're going to talk about them. We have thoughts. We were arguing about it right before the show started, so we'll do that. And we're also going to have your burning questions. Stay with us.
Are you thinking of buying or selling your home in the Calgary area? Well, there's one guy you've got to talk to. That's my pal, Derek Newman. Derek, born and raised in Calgary, volunteer, a pillar of the community, huge sports fan, girls, golfs, all kinds of sports, not to mention, yes, he loves, indeed, the Calgary Flames. So if you want to talk real estate in your community, or you just want to chat about the Flames and what's going on in the sports world, you can give Derek a call. Incredibly friendly and approachable, but more importantly, trustworthy and incredibly hardworking. Take advantage of their complimentary in-house home staging consultation. Also, whether it's your first time or you're a seasoned buyer or seller of homes, he's going to understand what you're looking for and help you meet your goals. Also, Derek's network, substantial. He's able to find some homes that aren't even on the market yet. So whether you're buying or selling, or you just want to see what's going on with the value of your place, give him a call or a text. He's going to get back to you right away. Derek Newman of Newman Deans Real Estate with CIR Realty. Let Derek put his network to work for you. Call or text Derek right now at 403-619-6661, or email him at dnewman@cirrealty.ca.
Greta, it's our home away from home for Afterburner. We'll be there for live watch parties throughout the season. Should be your spot regardless. Before, during, and after the game, grab a cocktail, something from the menu, let the games begin, or maybe you get into the game yourself. Over 50 arcade games from vintage to state-of-the-art. Load up some credits on that Greta game card of yours and get at it. Greta Calgary, located at 213 10th Avenue Southwest. Check them out online, gretabar.com.
There's not much better than hockey season, and yeah, you can always cheer on your favorite team at the Grey Eagle Resort and Casino's Stage Bar. You can enjoy the games on the massive big screen TVs they've got hanging above the bar. Friends, drinks, delicious food. Let's go. Visit Grey Eagle Resort and Casino.ca for more information. Now, maybe it's not game time yet, but there's always happy hour in the afternoon. Make the most of your day with great drinks and food at the Stage Bar and Blaze Bar and Grill for the happy hour every day, 2 to 5 at the Grey Eagle Resort and Casino. Great food, specialty drinks, all starting at $5. Visit Grey Eagle Resort and Casino.ca for more information. We'll see you there.
We're back with the Village Honda Road Ahead at the Northwest Auto Mall and online at villagehonda.com. New in-stock inventory on the ground. Start your automotive adventures at Village Honda, where new vehicle pricing is MSRP. So the dad's trip, the mentor's trip is over, unfortunately. We can just hope they stick around, but we have a 6-game homestand on tap. Good time to hop on over to the Saddle Dome and see these guys play. Next up, it's going to be the Arizona Coyotes on Tuesday, which Calgary has jumped in the standings. I think it's got a little heated with Calgary effing up the Coyotes with a 6-2 win the other night. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. We'll get into it, but there's the next 3 games. You're going to have 3 games with, I'd say, escalating levels of emotion from the fans and both teams. But, suddenly these games against Arizona become pretty dang important. And this is, a smarting Coyotes team that's going to feel like they got a little bit thumped in their own barn. And a Flames team looking up at the standings going, there's a lot less daylight between them and the other teams than they thought there would be. And they can crawl a little bit closer to that cut line with a good effort on Tuesday.
A couple of major tests after that one as well. Toronto coming in on Thursday. The Maple Leafs are coming off losses to the Isles and the Avalanche, and they're going to be playing Detroit at home, and then they'll go to Edmonton before landing in Calgary. Of course, we'll have a chance to see Mark Giordano again, a bit of a reunion between him and Bax after sending him that nice text for passing him on the all-time games played list for the Flames. But then we have to talk about them. It's the Oilers. Saturday night, they have won a franchise record 10th straight game tonight. That is only good news because it means Calgary could have a chance to snap it on home ice.
And I know the Oilers Nation crew is sending a bus down. Saddle Dome security has already been put on alert. They're going to guard their shovels and any kind of breakables or valuables that they have lying about. There's always a certain amount of emotion on a Saturday night with the Flames and the Oilers. And, Cami, you and I were both there on at the end of October. The Flames were just not very good in the first half of that outdoor game. And, they just weren't up to stuff. And I think as a group, they don't feel like that was representative of who they are or how they play. And they're going to be coming into that game very motivated. And as that Arizona game will be, the Oilers are not too far up on the Flames standing wise. And, if the Flames can't catch the Oilers, they're going to do their best to potentially spoil any kind of momentum the Oilers have. And, there's a special level of, there's respect amongst most National Hockey League teams. There's maybe a handful of teams that I think a lot of guys in the Flames just flat out don't like. And I think the boys up north are on that list.
That was a particular low point in this season for Calgary, for being honest. If we look at it as a whole now, Heritage Classic was not a good scene. But it's crazy because you look at what was going on for both teams around that time. You never would have thought they'd even be in the playoff conversation. And now, for all the winning Edmonton has done, we thought if either of these teams was going to squeak into playoffs, it would have to be in a wild card spot. LA losing 8 games in a row has really opened the doors. I think that Edmonton's they're 1 point back now?
Something like that. It's pretty close.
Something like that. But Calgary and Edmonton have come a long way, so the time is ripe for a rematch.
Yeah, and we saw one game at the end of October where, to be blunt, both teams kind of sucked going into it. And, the fans, we got to enjoy the atmosphere and the pageantry. The National Hockey League and the folks in Edmonton put on a really nice show. The hockey game itself was not nearly as competitive as I think anyone really hoped it would be. And let's hope when they take it indoors on Saturday night next week that it's a more competitive game, because I don't know, the rivalry is more fun than when both teams are playing their best. That Saturday night in October where we were joking, well, somebody's got to win it. Somebody did win it. And I don't think either team was really terribly happy with that game. So that's going to be a fun one. So, something about Edmonton and Calgary on a Saturday night just gets everybody going.
Gets the people going. 2-day break after that. Then it's the team immediately ahead of Calgary in the wild card standings in the St. Louis Blues, and they fell to the Bruins 4-3 in overtime. time tonight. So that's your road ahead from Village Honda. Huge selection of used vehicles, all makes, all models, all budgets, with over 70 units on site and access to over 400 more in their dealer group. You can make Village Honda your one-stop automotive destination in Calgary. Definitely worth the trip. Village Honda, located in the Northwest Auto Mall. All right, we got jerseys to talk about. What's Elias Lindholm going to have to throw on in a couple weeks here? Let's see it. So these were made in conjunction with Justin Bieber's group. I don't think they're that bad. I know you hate them.
Who are these for?
Kids. Kids
have
wear
$300
jerseys
to
as
spend on a
streetwear with
jersey?
no allegiance to the team.
My favorite All-Star jerseys in my mind was that one year where they I think the gimmick was they were using like the recycled plastic ones. And so all the jerseys were these gorgeous sort of like black and white monochrome ones with like the crests on them. Like, I like when they do that kind of thing, but this one, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's too much yellow. If the stars being yellow and the big star being yellow and the crest being the old yellow one, like, if you can figure out a way to add, so like if you had some silver or some sort of a color to make it a little bit less monochrome, I think it would pop a bit more. But I don't know.
I think the bright
Fashion has passed me
colors
by.
and the 90s evocative styling of it is kind of the point. We're like, Gen Z wears Jenko jeans. Sweaters that are so ugly, they're great, are back in. And I don't think this is meant for a
nailed
hard.
that then.
Well, like, think about it. Okay, like the NHL has gone towards a lot of streetwear styles in recent jerseys. Like, the whole point of reverse retros was that it was streetwear style. It was something that you could try to just throw on for everyday life, or if you're going out or something.
I thought the whole point of reverse retro was that people who were kids in the 90s are in their 30s and 40s now and have money to spend. And so you might as well lean into 90s nostalgia. I mean, the pedestal
That was
jersey,
not the point of the reverse retros.
the 90s jersey, like the pedestal jersey is, flat out an ugly jersey, but it's ugly on purpose. There's too much going on purpose. That was the style of the day, along with wearing an onion on your belt.
That was the second version, but the initial reverse retros, they said this is streetwear. Like, this is streetwear. Even the cuts of the jerseys were different. This is for a different style for a different generation, and that's why I think these jerseys work in this capacity.
They'll look cool on TV. Like, I mean, the players aren't going to blur together, but I don't think we have this in the photos we have. But like on the press pack they send out, the name bar is on the ass, so it's definitely a look.
Well, if you got the ass, you might as well give people a reason to look at it, I guess.
I guess. Hopefully no one tucks their name. Hopefully no one tucks their stuff into their jersey so you can't read their names.
I don't think they're that bad, Ryan.
These aren't for me. These aren't for me.
Blue's my favorite.
The blue, well, because the blue,
that's a good blue.
The blue, it has the best contrast. I mean, the sort of orangey red one kind of looks like a Canucks jersey. Kind of like that one. They need to put the V on
it's
it,
very Clarence Campbell conference.
Yes, it is. Yeah, these aren't for me. They're for the kids, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It's just too. The crests are too big. Like, it's the proportions.
You're all gonna be sorry when you see a celebrity who will like potentially get more eyes on the league wearing this. Like, do you think Cisa is like a ride or die Blues fan? No, but more people know who the Blues are because of her. I'm not going to spend my money on it, but I don't think it's that bad.
I don't know. I mean, it's Toronto, it's Bieber, it's Bieber's buddies. It'll be a fun party, and that's kind of the whole point of the All-Star game. And I do really like the changes they made to All-Star. Going back to the draft, that's going to be fun. I hope no one gets too hammered during the broadcast. The 3-on-3 PWHL stuff will be really fun because the early games in that league have been really fun, and getting some new eyeballs in that will be really cool. The 3-on-3 is going to be good. The skills competition was just a handpicked bunch of guys. I don't know what I think they're using 12 guys. I don't know what the other 32 people do that time. Are they going to be trash talking like you could just have them drink and put an open mic on them and have them do the commentary. That could be fun. I don't think it'd be safe, but it'd be fun. There's a lot of things they could do, and I think like All-Star has sort of been kind of an afterthought for the last 2 years. I think a lot of sports have this challenge where All-Star is a chance for fans, media, players to get a week off in the middle of the season and decompress, and for players to heal up nagging injuries. And they're trying to make it something worth a damn. And, good for them. It's at the very least, it seems like it's going to be a fun party. And
we're going to have a lot of Canadian team representation there.
I mean, 2 teams. Everyone knows Toronto and
Not the
Vancouver
Oilers.
equals Canada.
What's that?
Toronto and Montreal, or Toronto and Vancouver equals Canada. So, but again, like, two of the best teams in Canada, I'd say the best story in the NHL right now is holy cow, the Canucks. There's a few other fun stories, but I mean, anyone who has a friend who's a Canucks fan has probably
been rose to the top of every Jets fan's hit list.
We've been hearing for so many years, don't worry, the Canucks will be good at some point. There's no way that EPD and all these other guys can be so bad for so long. And then every Canucks fan we all know has been saying, see, I was right. And good for them. Hopefully they can keep it up in the second half, but at the very least, they're going to have a fun weekend watching the All-Star stuff.
Absolutely. All right, Jack, hit us with some questions. Is it time we start talking about Zary and the Calder? Okay, we dump in talking about it. He has to be in the conversation now.
Who's ahead of him? Bedard, Brock Faber, maybe Marco Rossi, maybe. I think
he had a good
and
stretch
Marco
there.
Rossi
Rossi
sort
had
of
a
on the
really
same
good
level.
stretch there.
Yeah. Like, who else would there be?
I don't know. I'm going to go pull up the rookie skaters now.
I mean, I think they pulled since Zary got called up, the only player in the National Hockey League who has more points than he does is Connor Bedard. So,
he's fifth in rookie scoring right now.
On per game, I think he's second, isn't he?
Points per game, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Brock Faber eats minutes though.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Like Brock Faber in terms
he's
of just
averaging 24-45 a game.
I think no rookies average that kind of ice time. I mean, on one hand, the Wild's blue line's a little bit thin, but I mean, they've got a Brock Faber, and Brock Faber's excellent. So I think the only problem with Brock Faber is that his numbers aren't really that sexy, but that time on ice number is just nuts. But I mean, Zary, he's got the points, he's got the plus minus. I think the challenge for Zary is people who have seen Zary play will probably be like, oh, yeah, that kid from Calgary. Okay. But I think the challenge is if you haven't seen him in person, I think you don't really appreciate all the little things he does in all 3 zones. And I think he's the type of guy that you'll be able to tell what proportion of the league will have seen him play in person.
Do you give more weight to a guy who started the season with the team or a guy who's had to earn his way up and then stay there?
I always have this challenge when I'm voting for the Calder because the idea of I'd say, how about for goalies? Like if you're a goalie and you only play 20 games, but you win 12 of them or 13 of them, is that more impactful? Is that I think the exact phrase is the player that shows the most proficiency in their first year of competition. I like the exchange between goalies and skaters is challenging. Figuring out, your skaters like Brock Faber plays a lot and he plays every game versus, Zary was in the American League for the first month of the season versus, Pyotr Kochetkov has been very good for Carolina, but he also hasn't played the full season. He's been sort of bouncing around. So yeah, it's All-Star break is usually when I start trying to wrap my head around all these things, but it's sneaking up on us. But to give a short answer to the question, is he in the conversation? Unequivocally, yes.
I know he's 11 points behind Bedard. And I know before I say it, I know this is a flawed stat, but when you look at top 5 in rookie scoring, only Marco Rossi and Connor Zary have a positive rating in terms of plus minus. Rossi's +2, Zary's +13.
Double digits.
Like, I mean, once it gets to a certain point, it's like, it does kind of mean something. It's indicative of something. Yeah, Zary probably has the best defense tonight out of those rookies. He was retrieving pucks in the flame zone like crazy tonight. Absolutely.
Yeah. And again, that's sort of when I get into the whole, oh man, if you see him in person, the little things he does, his details are immaculate. I don't know if details come across in his stats or come across in the highlight packs as much as they do in person.
Heck yeah. So yeah, throw that man in the race. Flames Nation, can Calgary trade out a contract or two and still make a wild card spot-ish? I mean, if there's any team that's shown you can do it, I think it would be the Predators last year. They had a ragtag roster by the time they made it in, and granted, they didn't last long, but
Yeah,
depends on the moves they make. Like, assuming that
Yeah.
assuming that two of the moves would be Lindholm and Hanifin, we do know that reinforcements are likely on the way for the blue line with someone who can also skate very well. Obviously, he isn't quite what Hanifin is, but I still don't think they would bottom out that hard without those two players.
I would say it's a cop-out, but my answer is it depends because, like, okay, if they move Lindholm, you're not getting nothing back from him for the NHL roster. If you move, if you're moving Tanev, hypothetically, you're probably getting a couple picks back. Like, I think the Tanev deal looks very Zadorov-ish, and I think a Lindholm or Hanifin deal is sort of pick, prospect, roster player, and who's the roster player? And does moving one of those guys out allow someone like a Coronado to come up, a Pelche, a whoever? So it's like, it's not like you're jettisoning them into the moon and getting absolutely nothing back for them. You're probably going to get someone back, and you're also opening a spot for a younger player potentially. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we're heading into the 55 days left of the trade deadline. There's going to be a lot of weird stuff going on, and it's going to be kind of fun.
We love weird. We love weird. Let's see the next one, Jack. Feelings about Dubé. He's around it. Like, again, there were a couple of, I keep waiting for the breakthrough again, but you know what? That line was clearly the low part of the Flames game tonight.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's, like, what more is there to say about it? They had some troubles getting out of their zone, not able to sustain much in the O zone. It just wasn't it tonight. And as great as Dubé has been for us to deal with from a media perspective and for how many people want to see him succeed, don't know where that success will come on this Flames lineup right now.
What is the point of the fourth line? It appears to be AJ Greer, who's very well suited to that kind of a role and has arguably excelled at times in that role. And whichever two forwards can't fit into the top three lines. And, you know, I don't think Ruzicka is a great fit as a fourth line center, nor do I feel Dubé is. And, you know, when your center is not really well suited for that role and, you know, you're doing a lot of running around, that's what happens. I mean, so I think to me, that's the challenge, because I think they found an identity for the other three lines. Like the Elias Lindholm line has really started cooking with Huberdeau and Sharangovich. Kadri and the kids have been really good basically since the get-go. And, you know, Backlund and Coleman and Mangiapane are always money. And then there's just the island of, you know, whoever's left for the fourth line. And, you know, it hasn't worked. And they're always the line on road trips that get, you know, targeted by other teams with their top line. And, you know, they were easily the line that got targeted the most against Vegas, and it showed.
And all of them were stapled to the bench after the Stevenson goal. And none of them cracked more than 10 minutes in ice time.
Yeah. And if
you're just kind of where things are at right now for them.
I think after when Huska scratched him, he said he took kind of the blame for it, saying it's on him for not being able to find him much ice time. But I mean, all due respect to the player, has Dubé done enough to steal somebody's job of the six guys ahead of him? And have any of the six guys ahead of him underperformed to the point where their jobs are in jeopardy? I would argue the answer to both questions is, unfortunately for him, no.
All right, Jack, I think we got time for one more. We're aiming to be done by midnight. Who did Huska put in Lindy's spot when he went down the tunnel? Curious what Huska's gut choice was for a Lindy replacement. Of course, this was after Elias Lindholm ran into Sharon Govich with his face.
Do you know the answer? Because I do, and it's very funny given the question we just had.
Regale us.
It was Dubé. Dubé got the extra bit of time. For one shift, they moved the puck up the ice. Then he was told, get back there, go sit with the other kids. And Lindholm got his job back. And it was fine. He, I think it was more of a case of who do you have that can play with some speed that you can throw with Huberdeau. And, I think of the guys they've had, Dubé's played the most with Huberdeau and Sharon Govich. So in a pinch, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know if they have a long-term Lindholm replacement in mind. I think whatever happens, it might just be a case of, what Vegas did tonight with no Jack Eichel. Everybody moved up a slot, and then they put Byron Fraser in the fourth line. It could just be something as simple as everybody moves up a slot, and then they bring up Ben Jones or Cole Schwint from the Wranglers, and then everyone goes on with their lives.
Any final thoughts you have on this game?
They had 20 wins. That's kind of fun. They're 2 games above 500. It's fake standings 500, not real 500. I think real 500 be winning half their games, and they haven't done that yet. But this is as far into the black as they've been points percentage wise this year. And they're still, I think, 4 points out of a playoff spot when you correct for points percentage. When they started this run, when we were talking after the game in Edmonton, I think they were 5 or 6 points out. So they've gained a point or two in the last 2.5 months with some pretty damn good hockey. But it also shows you that, they put themselves well behind the 8 ball in October. And, they've won, I think, 18 or 19 of 33 in the last stretch. And they've only made up a point, maybe 2, depending on how you want to measure it. So we'll see. The only thing they can do is try to beat the teams in front of them.
We shall see indeed. Barn Burner is back on Monday. Afterburner is back on Tuesday when the Flames host those wily Coyotes. Thank you so much for joining us tonight as the Flames beat Vegas 3-1. Stay warm, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.